The sledgehammer crashed through the weathered planks of my barn, each blow echoing like a gunshot across the quiet valley. Karen Whitaker, president of the Pine Crest HOA, stood at the center of the chaos, her manicured hands gripping the tool with a vengeance. Her designer sunglasses glinted under the noon sun. Her lips curled into a sneer as she barked orders at the hired crew. "Tear it all down," she demanded. "This eyesore is dragging down property values." My family's barn 3 generations of history, where I'd played as a kid, where my father stored his tools, where my grandfather carved his initials, was crumbling before my eyes. I stood frozen, my heart pounding, as Karen's crew reduced my heritage to splinters. She didn't even glance my way, as if I, Ellie Harper, was beneath her notice. The conflict had started months ago when Pine Crest, a sprawling luxury resort community, expanded into our rural town. My family's 10-acre plot, with its rickety barn and wildflower fields, sat just outside their gated paradise. Karen, with her polished speeches and HOA rulebook, declared our land a visual nuisance. She wanted it gone, replaced with manicured lawns, or, better yet, another wing of their resort. I refused their buyout offers, clinging to the land my grandparents worked. That's when the harassment began: fines for unmaintained structures, complaints about my chickens, even a petition to seize my property for community benefit. But this was war. Karen had crossed a line, demolishing my barn without a permit, without warning, without a shred of decency. I stormed toward her, fists clenched. "You can't do this. This is my land." Karen barely turned, her voice dripping with disdain. "Your land's an embarrassment, Ellie. We're doing you a favor." Her crew kept swinging, and the barn's roof caved in with a groan. I called the sheriff, but Karen waved a forged document, claiming the county approved the demolition. The deputy, a young guy new to town, looked uneasy but shrugged. "Take it up in court," he muttered, leaving me standing in the dust of my family's legacy. That night, I sat in my kitchen, staring at the legal papers I couldn't afford to fight. Karen's HOA had money, lawyers, influence. I had a half-paid mortgage and a broken heart. But then I remembered something my grandfather told me about her land. "Ellie," he'd said, pointing to the hill behind our property, "that reservoir up there feeds the whole valley. We control the old sluice gate. Never forget that power. The reservoir. It was ancient, built by my great-grandfather to irrigate our fields. Decades ago, the county leased it to supply water to the lowlands, including Pine Crest Resort, with its sprawling golf courses, fountains, and infinity pools. Karen's empire depended on my family's water. I dug through old records in the attic, finding the deed that confirmed our ownership of the sluice gate. A plan formed, reckless but righteous. If Karen could destroy my history, I'd choke the life out of her paradise. At dawn, I hiked to the reservoir, a rusted key in hand. The sluice gate creaked as I turned it, the water flow slowing to a trickle. By noon, the resort's sprinklers sputtered. By evening, their fountains ran dry. I didn't stop there. I chained the gate shut, ensuring no one could turn it back without my key. The backlash was swift. Karen's calls flooded my voicemail, her tone shifting from smug to frantic. "Ellie, this is illegal. You're ruining us." I ignored her. Social media exploded with posts from Pine Crest residents' guests complaining about dry pools, golfers raging over brown fairways. Pine Crest drought trended on X. I stayed silent, watching the chaos unfold from my porch. But then came the twist I hadn't expected. Mrs. Delaney, a quiet widow who lived in Pine Crest, knocked on my door. She was no HOA loyalist, just an elderly woman who'd moved there for the community garden. "Ellie," she said, her voice trembling, "I know Karen's awful, but the garden's dying. It's all I have left of my husband." Her eyes, full of grief, hit me like a punch. My war with Karen was hurting innocence. Guilt gnawed at me, but I couldn't back down. Karen had to face consequences. The next day, she arrived at my doorstep, flanked by 2 lawyers in a news van. Cameras rolled as she pointed a manicured finger at me. "This woman is holding our community hostage," she declared, her voice theatrical. "She's a menace. I stepped forward, holding up the reservoir deed. You demolished my barn, Karen. You broke the law first. This is my land, my water, and I'm done letting you bully me. The crowd, neighbors, reporters, even some Pine Crest residents murmured. Karen's face flushed, her composure cracking. You'll regret this, she hissed, but her lawyers pulled her back, whispering about bad PR. The confrontation escalated at a town hall meeting that night. The room buzzed with Tension Resort residents on one side, locals on the other. Karen took the podium, spinning a tale of victimhood, claiming I was sabotaging progress. I stood up, my voice shaking but clear. This isn't about progress. It's about greed. Karen destroyed my family's barn because it didn't fit her vision of a perfect resort. She didn't ask, didn't care. Now she's learning actions have consequences. Mrs. Delaney, to my shock, stood beside me. I've seen the HOA's tactics, she said. They bully anyone who doesn't fit their mold. Ellie's fighting for her home. Who's fighting for us? The room erupted some cheering, others shouting. Karen's polished facade faltered as residents began questioning her leadership. The collapse came fast. Ex-posts revealed Karen's forged demolition permit, uncovered by a local journalist who dug into county records. The sheriff's office launched an investigation, and the HOA board suspended Karen pending a vote. Without water, Pinecrest Resort hemorrhaged money-canceled bookings, plummeting reviews. Karen's dream of a pristine empire crumbled as quickly as my barn had. At a final hearing, she faced me, her designer clothes replaced by a plain blazer, her arrogance gone. I underestimated you, she muttered, almost to herself. I didn't respond. She'd lost her position, her influence, and the resort's investors were pulling out. The reservoir stayed closed until the county agreed to restore my barn's foundation and compensate my family. In the end, I reopened the sluice gate not for Karen, but for people like Mrs. Delaney, whose garden bloomed again. Standing by the rebuilt barn, I traced my grandfather's initials in the new wood, feeling a quiet victory. Karen's downfall wasn't just about revenge. It was about standing up to those who think money and power can crush history, heart, and home. The valley was whole again, but the fight left a question. Where do we draw the line between justice and vengeance? I'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you have done in my place?